Out of nearly 12,000 lakes in Minnesota, Lake Minnetonka stands alone as the most heavily used of them all. While many people argue over whether or not the lake is worthy of being called clean, there is no doubt that this lake has seen its fair share of ups and downs when it comes to cleanliness. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your friend Nathan Hofer with the Minnetonka Minute, and today we're taking a look at a rare 1960s era booklet designed to teach children the value of taking care of their environment. A book titled The Great Big Ugly Eight-Legged Monster of Lake Minnetonka. As well, we'll do a quick overview of the history of pollution on Minnetonka and what makes it significant to residents in the 21st century. Also, if you enjoy local history made bite-sized and exciting, consider subscribing to the Minnetonka Minute for regular updates. Lake Minnetonka has so much to offer and you won't want to miss any of what's in store. Anyway, on with the video. It's hard to overstate how much pollution was being dumped into the lake by the surrounding towns and residents in the early to mid-1900s. While much damage was done by people dumping their trash into the water, the main culprit of pollution came in the form of wastewater dumped by 7 towns surrounding the lake area. With all the waste discharge came phosphorus. 1 pound of phosphorus in the lake can create nearly 500 pounds of algae. On its own, this sounds pretty bad, but when combined with the fact that the towns were dumping 50,000 pounds of phosphorus into the lake every year, the situation rapidly spiraled out of control. By the 1950s and 60s, massive algae blooms covered much of the lake's open surface. As the situation became increasingly political, the Minnesota State Legislature began working to create an organization dedicated to correcting Minnetonka's pollution crisis. In 1967, the efforts came to fruition with the creation of the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District. Not long after its creation, the LMCD partnered with TCF Bank and the Harrison and Smith Printing Company to create an educational booklet aimed at the local youth population. The book itself was written by Excelsior resident Peter Tauert and illustrated by Excelsior resident Bob Connolly. Let's dive in together to this unique piece of local history.
The Great Big Ugly Eight-Legged Monster of Lake Minnetonka. How he grew, what's to do. Once upon a time, many years ago, there was a baby monster, sort of puppy-sized, who hid in the weed beds and bulrushes in the backwaters of Lake Minnetonka. He wasn't much as monsters go, more like a plain little blob than anything else. And he was shy and retiring, and he never bothered anybody. And no one ever bothered him. In fact, nobody ever paid any attention to him at all. Just one thing, however. Although people didn't care about him, or think about him, or even know about him, they did feed him very well. And that suited him just fine, because like most blobby-looking puppy monsters, he had a gimmick. Every time he was served a different kind of meal, he'd grow himself a big, long, strong, ugly new leg. Do you know what he grew his first leg on? Plain old raw sewage. That's what. Sewage that somehow gets dumped directly into the lake. His second special meal and his second leg came from cesspools and septic tanks, those lovely old faulty ones that bubble and ooze through backyards and never get pumped out. With 2 legs now, our blob could hold a guitar, so he took up singing, and guess what his favorite tune was? Flow Gently Sweet Effluent. That's because he had his first taste of the water coming from the sewage treatment plants. It was loaded with yummy nutrients, so here too was another special kind of feeding, and another long, strong, ugly leg. His next leg surprised everybody. It came from apparently excellent septic systems, because he quickly discovered, with all the detergents in use today, even the best functioning septic systems pours forth a tasty meal of nutrients like nitrogen and particularly phosphorus. When these elements work into the lake, they become a leg-building smorgasbord. And still more legs kept coming, more and more and more. One came from all the drainage from barnyards, feedlots, and poultry farms. Delicious. Another came from excess fertilizers draining off farm fields and residential lawns. And when it rained, look out. He loved it because all kinds of goodies washed into the lake with the storm drainage, and he was another leg up. Finally, we come to people. People, people, people. People in the water, people on the water, people over the water. People who are saying, what difference can it possibly make if I dump this little something into the lake? And besides, nobody is watching. But our greedy, growing hungry blob was watching. He had 7 legs now, and that meant that he was lopsided. He just had to have one more long, strong, ugly leg, and he grew it one hot Sunday in July. That was the day when 10,000 people said, what difference can it possibly make if I dump this little something in the lake? And besides, nobody is watching. What a variety they served up that day. That 8th leg popped out so fast it nearly flipped our blob. But wait, what happened? Our meek little blob was no blob no more. He was a great big, ugly, 8-legged monster. A monster, you might say. He was a deadly killer because his 8 strong, ugly legs were strangling the lake. He even had a monster name, eutrophication. Yep, he was Mr. Pollution with a capital P. And now people noticed him, and how. He was showing up everywhere they looked. He was green and blobby and sloppy and smelly and icky too. He was all blah and miles wide, and he scared the people. Shouts of alarm rang out in the land. What's to do? People cried. Who's to blame? Why doesn't somebody do something? And soon fingers began to be pointed. Some groups began to blame other groups. Some towns blamed other towns. Sometimes it seemed like all 15 towns on the lake were heading into 30 different directions. And while they were doing all this, what do you think our monster was doing? You guessed it. He just kept right on eating and growing, getting bigger and sloppier and stinkier because nobody was really organized to fight him. Finally, he grew so big, his shadow fell right across the dome of the state capitol. And he scared the legislature, and he scared the governor too, and they said, we must act at once. We must have one group, one set of leaders to bring the villages together, a group to attack pollution all over the lake. We must give them the power to make and enforce special rules. And so the legislature did act, and they created a new district, and they said, from this day forward you shall be called the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District, and you shall go forth and battle the monster, and your war cry shall be, save the lake. They did go forth, and the battle was begun. A powerful pollution committee was formed, and it is in action now. Yes, that brings us up to now. So let's ask a few questions. What's with our monster? Right now? How big is he? Are we anywhere close to having him beat? Sorry, victory is a long way off. Our monster at the moment is very much alive and feeding himself with all 8 legs. But he is wearing a worried look because a lot of hardworking people are hacking away at him leg by leg. Already stricter laws are being enforced against any raw sewage dumping where it can get back into the lake. And more and better sewage treatment plants are on the way, and plans are well along to divert much nutrient-loaded effluent away from the lake. Educational efforts are underway to have specific systems built more efficiently and pumped more frequently. More sewer lines are going in, and more homes are connecting to present ones. Farming methods that conserve fertilizers and prevent excessive runoff are being encouraged. Better use of residential lawn fertilizers and chemicals is being promoted. But most importantly, the people are being educated about all of the evils of careless people pollution. They're becoming aware of how all the little litter bits add up to such big, beautiful meals for Mr. Monster. And there are new rules too, for people who use the lake. Rules that can be enforced from one end of the lake to the other. Tough rules on boat toilets and any human waste discharged from boats. Tough rules on garbage and litter, including fish house litter. Rules with teeth enough to take a big bite out of that 8th leg that keeps our monsters so nicely balanced. So yes, the battle is definitely on. No, it is far from won. Yes, it's been declared everybody's war. Think about it this way. You're the solution to water pollution, and you are the soldier that we need. Because one thing we do know, If we all get together and support all these efforts to change the menu for Mr. Monster, we won't leave him a leg to stand on. We'll make him a playful, puppy-sized blob again and send him back into the backwaters and bulrushes where the biggest thing he'll ever scare is a small frog. Okay?
Today, Lake Minnetonka is significantly cleaner than it was at any point in the last 100 years. The Minnesota DNR gives it a score of 60 out of a possible 100. This is certainly a far cry from perfect, and it keeps Minnetonka in the C+ category. However, it also ranks higher than most lakes in the metro area. For example, Dutch Lake, Tanager Lake, and Lake Waconia rank in at a C, while Long Lake and Gleason Lake come in the D range. For everyone enjoying Lake Minnetonka, we can work together to keep this lake clean by picking up litter, preventing the spread of invasive species, and holding local governments accountable for properly managing wastewater. For more information on pollution control and prevention on Lake Minnetonka, I've tagged the LMCD website in the description below. Thanks for watching this video. The Minnetonka Minute and Remember Wednesday is researched, written, and produced by me, Nathan Hofer. Want to learn more about Lake Minnetonka history? Then consider subscribing to the Minnetonka Minute for regular updates on historical figures, events, locations, and stories. As well, feel free to leave a comment below. I pride myself on replying to your feedback and take it into consideration for future installments. For a bibliography of sources used in the making of this video, check out the description below. Once again, this is the Minnetonka Minute, and I'll see you soon.